Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for today's webinar, Revolutionizing Private Equity with Software. We have a lot of information to share with you, from key trends to strategies, and then how to best implement software within your own organization. Today's webinar is brought to you by Athenian, an entity management software used by global and many private market teams. My name is Tina Grabisa, and I'll be your host today. I'm a fund operations consultant here with Athenian, working with a lot of our fund operation customers and prospects to better implement legal tech solutions. Before we get started, let's go through a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we will be sharing an email with you with a link to the recording as well as the deck that we are presenting. We're going to keep the blinds on mute to cut down on any background noise, but with that being said, we do want to hear from you, so feel free to share your questions or comments with us in the GoToWebinar chat box. We will leave some time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions. Any that we don't get to will be answered over email. Last but not least, we are always looking for ways to improve, so following today's webinar, we will share a survey with you, and we would greatly appreciate you taking a moment to share your thoughts with us. All right, so as mentioned earlier, we have tons to get through today and lots of information to share, but to summarize, here's what you can expect from today's webinar. We're going to cover all the key factors that are disrupting the private equity space, and then we'll also touch on harnessing data, technology, and GenAI to realize value. And of course, we'll leave some time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the key factors driving disruption. Before I dive in, though, I'll turn it over to the audience and the listeners on today's webinar to drop some of the key factors that have been driving technological disruption within your own organizations. So I turn the question to you guys. What kinds of things have you been seeing? What kind of companies have been coming up? Maybe share some of the proactive steps your firms have been taking to adopt technology in recent times. So as many of you are typing away, I'll get started on the key factors driving that disruption. So when we think about digital disruption and emerging technologies related to private equity, our minds often go to how they will impact the firms internally. And this might be around organizational structures or increased internal process automation. While those things are indeed happening, and we'll get to them shortly, technology's most important and significant impact right now on private equity firms is on investment decisions and driving value at the firm's operational level. Digital disruption and transformation are happening in every industry for every single type of company. And this means that private equity firms really must consider how those factors will impact potential targets in the near future. Specifically, they need to understand how technology could act as an opportunity or maybe even as a threat to an investment's eventual exit value. It's also necessary to understand where potential investments targets live on the digital maturity spectrum. And the expectation and level of importance for this may vary depending on the industry where said targets operate. So existing portfolio companies too need to be evaluated and advised accordingly to maintain that competitiveness related to any technological capabilities. This, of course, is much more complex than simply adding emerging technologies or digital maturity to a list of portfolio evaluation criteria. The need is in having private equity fund managers, research teams, individual asset advisors, and legal teams, so the people in all these roles and beyond, to be trained and provided with the right resources they need to understand how these concepts are both relevant and impactful to their firms. Digitalizations and process automations streamline workflows and remove significant friction in the functioning of portfolio evaluation criteria. And now in some pockets of private equity that have always been tech focused, such as venture capital, incorporating disruption potential and any tech for that matter into their decision-making process is most likely not a complex undertaking. However, Where this applies is in the more traditional sectors such as real estate or LBOs. And in this instance, it really does represent a significant shift. In recent years, we've seen the impact of technology and the need for portfolio evaluation criteria to be included in digital transformation, and especially in how it's being used to evolve alongside global market impacting events such as COVID, as we've seen over the few years, while also driving value creation with each successful implementation. So investors will need to navigate macroeconomic uncertainty to identify pockets of growth and to creatively unlock value both pre and post deal. This means being adaptable and recognizing opportunities even amidst economic volatility, and being innovative in extracting that value throughout the investment life cycle. So by using data or technology to drive these really important key decisions. But it's not just about spotting these opportunities. There needs to be a practical understanding of what it will take to deliver. So this involves assessing and leveraging capabilities as a first step, nurturing a conducive organizational culture as a second step, and harnessing the power of technology as the last step. Without these elements, even the most promising investments may fall short of their potential. So we really emphasize and point to it being crucial to not only navigate uncertainty, but also to equip ourselves and firms likewise with the tools and knowledge necessary to deliver those tangible results. By doing so, we can adapt to changing market conditions and really thrive in the face of uncertainty. So as investors seek new routes to create value in today's challenging environment, many do plan to use data and technology to drive those returns. And what we're uncovering here is that private equity leaders are actively seeking fresh avenues to generate this value. Nearly 2/3, so around 63% of them, are recognizing the imperative of innovative strategies in today's evolving landscape. Additionally, a resilient 33% are extending their value creation plans to navigate challenges effectively. Moreover, operational excellence is paramount and really at the forefront, as highlighted by a substantial 75% of leaders emphasizing the need to optimize processes for sustained growth. Meanwhile, 43% are embracing technology to streamline operations, driving efficiency and scalability. PE-backed companies are swiftly acknowledging the transformative powers of generative AI, with a significant 75% recognizing its potential. This underscores the urgency for proactive adaptation and capitalization of AI-driven innovations for a competitive edge. So these all might sound like flashy numbers, but if we really do summarize this and draw a conclusion, the data really does underscore a very clear imperative for private equity firms to embrace innovation, optimize operations, and really capitalize on emerging technologies to navigate the evolving landscape successfully. So let's have a look at the importance of harnessing data, technology, and GenAI to drive value, and to dive into how to prepare and how to adopt these technologies within your own respective organizations. But before I get into that, I'll turn it over to the audience again. Thanks for sharing some of those themes earlier. Now I pose the question around what are some of the questions your team has thought about when implementing technologies? Maybe also share some of the challenges that you faced as well. So feel free to drop that in the chat, and then I'll start talking about how a focused approach enables investors to identify high ROI opportunities for data and technology across their portfolios. An approach that we would recommend here at Athenian when implementing any technology, and we don't just mean legal tech, is to consider the process in phases. So we started off with phase 0. Now, phase 0 is the preliminary phase where we recommend companies to take the time to, 1, define management priority areas to drive a step change in value. And we often see this from the portco perspective. It allows for the teams to workshop their current pain points and provides for an opportunity to identify key analytics or maybe even KPIs that are required to unlock and address salient business questions. This can be around anything that is causing bottlenecks in the organization or even inefficiencies that are resulting into fines or penalties. And that brings us to the value diagnostic. And this is where we recommend firms to be transparent on their current state and really start being proactive and start thinking about the process of value today on the journey to value tomorrow. So we ask our customers and our prospects, what are some things to consider? We've heard that it might be tied to revenue, it can be tied to direct costs, or maybe it's even tied to working capital. But with all those things being said, the natural progression is going towards phase one. And that does bring us to phase one, where we reinforce the importance of alignment. The goal is to get the firm to have rapid proof of value, and this can be done through 3 core analytics modules. The first is fully costed profitability, the second is analytics point solution, and the third is commercial intelligence. So the first one, fully costed profitability, usually when we present this to some of our prospects or customers, there may be confusion, but what this really means, and to simplify it, is providing insight into operational costs and aiding in pricing strategies and resource allocation. So this may be distributing costs to different teams or really understanding who would own the technology. The second, analytics point solution, offering targeted data analysis to address specific business challenges, driving informed decision and decision making, as well as efficiency. And then lastly, commercial intelligence, equipping organizations with market insights to identify opportunities, really mitigate those risks, and formulate effective strategies for sustainable growth. All of these modules in collaboration drive rapid value delivery and allow the firm to then prepare and approve a business case, sometimes with our help, and a mobilization and implementation plan, and to really start visualizing some of those quick wins that can be seen with the implemented technology. Now, phase two is the realized value, and this is where the pain points and solutions addressed in that said business case are implemented, and the firm has started to see a few quick wins in their day-to-day processes. It provides the firm with the opportunity to refine the data and document models and looking out for proof of value, as well as incorporate any new data or document workflows and refine these processes as well. Teams then finalize this process and start to think about ways to integrate existing or maybe even new platforms and technologies. And now this is really where we tie in those discussions around integrations and API. This is really broken down by the cycle of test and launch, process definition training, and then tracking and monitoring to fully realize the value of new technology within the organization, and really to start activating that change management process, as seen in the little diagram on the right. We hope that with this overview, your firms and respective organizations can tackle new technology in a very educated and simplified, practical way. We've seen it firsthand with some of our own clients. So Fengate, who is an investment management company specializing in private equity infrastructure and real estate strategies, has over 8 billion capital commitments and over 35 billion in total asset value. And this company evidently operates at a very massive scale. So Fengate tapped into the power of Athenian's automated entity management to maintain this momentum and really expand into those new markets and begin creating new entities. So until 2019, Fengate's legal team managed entities using a very outdated database and disconnected tools like spreadsheets. So maybe some things that you use today. But as these entities grew, this patchwork of systems became unsustainable, and they had gone through this analysis of moving through phase 0 to phase 2. Fengate had to roll out this new technology in that phased approach, as mentioned today, to really fully accelerate the value of their initial investment. So really holding this process as a high standard. We'll also share the Fengate case study in the chat. Feel free to use this as a resource within your own organizations, or to get the conversation started about implementing new technology in your own firms. Increasingly, we see that PE firms can leverage software to support 3 primary user cases across the deal cycle. Now, we've spent most of today's webinar looking at the impact of technology from that operational and firm perspective, but really the point where we will move the needle is in that deal lifecycle. So we're going to focus on these 3 user cases today: portfolio companies, deal making, and lastly, fund operations. Starting off with portfolio companies, where we see the most value is in targeted proof of concept Gen AI solutions for specific business functions and off-the-shelf downstream applications for sector-specific use cases. So really leveraging the off-the-shelf downstream applications that enable rapidly accessible sector-specific challenges in optimizing, let's say, supply chain logistics, or for a manufacturing firm, or really refining customer engagement strategies for maybe a retail brand using AI-driven insights. Now, where it's more applicable in the private equity space is in the deal-making stage. So enhanced diligence with AI solutions around document interrogation, data and analytics, maybe even future state diligence assistance to augment capabilities around tax, legal, and financial documents are seen to be critical in disrupting the space. Artificial intelligence has emerged as one of the most sought after services in the market. And a lot of the generative AI tools right now are plugins embedded with enterprise softwares. And these services assist lawyers focused on extracting metadata from a large portfolio of contracts, such as parties, governing laws, effective dates, for example. And all these AI tools assist with contract x-rays, so which is a comparison of contract portfolios to legal department playbooks to determine areas and extent of deviation. Now, where we see it the most applicable is in fund operations. Now, leveraging software to review large volumes of contracts, facilitating inquiry management, mostly from investors, with tracking, review, and approvals, and then as well as the increase of fund level reporting due to new regulations in the industry, for data intake from portco data, inquiring for various KPIs, and really working towards constructing a centralized document repository of industry diligence and research reports, as well as legal documents. Private equity firms leverage emerging technologies, especially AI, to strategically harness vast amounts of data to make intelligent investment decisions. As transparency increases and private markets become less private, AI becomes even more critical. So new sources of structured and unstructured data regularly crop up and are combined with machine learning technology. As a result, AI offers the promise of insights that were once unimaginable only a few years ago. While 2/3 of firms expressed confidence that they are prepared to address cybersecurity risk, cybersecurity budget findings indicate that increased spending is necessary to keep pace with the growing threat of the landscape. In short, private equity has a strong interest in digital transformation across the board. However, if I really had to narrow this wordy slide to one overall impression, I would say transaction agility is key. And what we are seeing is that legal teams are overworked. Now, we have to start asking ourselves the question of how can technology or any new tech from that perspective enable teams to become critical thinkers? We've seen the threat of AI threatening certain roles and responsibilities, but really what we're looking at here is how can we equip our existing employees and people within our firms to make better decisions and work on higher value tasks. And really, these are the questions that we should be asking ourselves and our teams as we start thinking about new technology. To wrap it up, the data underscores a clear imperative for private equity firms to embrace innovation, optimize operations, and capitalize on emerging technologies to navigate that evolving landscape successfully. Transaction agility is key, and technology plays a vital role in streamlining processes and enabling critical thinking within various teams, but especially within legal teams. As we harness data, technology, and Gen AI to drive value, a focused approach is really essential, ensuring alignment, rapid proof of value, and phased implementation to really maximize returns across that deal lifecycle. That brings us to the slide and the question of, do you even need legal tech? Are these maybe some of the questions that you've already been asking yourself, or have these questions come up within your firm? AI has the potential to be a disruptor to the legal industry because the underlying data is in a form that can be utilized by AI technologies, legal documents generated from precedents and voluminous cases. The market has already seen private equity firms acquiring or building AI capabilities on top of legal tech businesses. PE firms are doing a lot of diligence before making an investment to understand the risk and potential of legal disruption. One thing's for sure, AI and legal tech represent the future of the legal industry, and the extent of its disruption is yet to be seen. Private equity firms are increasingly turning to legal tech solutions to navigate the intricate legal landscape more effectively and efficiently. With diverse portfolios spanning various industries, PE firms encounter many legal challenges, from contract management and due diligence to compliance and regulatory changes. Legal tech offers a very tailored tool and platform to streamline all these different processes, automating maybe routine tasks, enhancing risk management, and really ensuring regulatory compliance. By harnessing the power of technology, PE firms can optimize resource allocation, accelerating deal timelines, mitigating legal risk, and ultimately driving greater value for their portfolio companies and investors alike. All right, so we'll be getting to the Q&A portion in just a moment. In the meantime, share your questions in the control panel. Anything we don't get to today, we will follow up with over email. And to stay up to date on more strategies and industry news from myself, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. We're excited to kick off the next quarter with lots of high-value webinars. We have 2 coming up in the next couple of weeks. Our next webinar will be on April 2nd and will be hosted by Charlotte. In this webinar, we'll share product updates and how things are impacting our customers. And then on April 11th, we'll be kicking off with a new series of webinars showing how different teams within an organization leverage entity management software. And this will be our first webinar for legal and global operation teams. If either of these sound good to you, pay close attention to your inbox because we will be sending over an invite in the next few days. And of course, you can follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date on any webinars, third-party articles, and lots more. All right, so with that, let's get into the questions. So we have a few questions coming in, but we'll start off with the first one that we see. How does software revolutionize private equity processes? We've seen through today's webinar the impact of software from that firm perspective. We did touch on the deal aspect and the deal life cycle, but really where we're seeing and recognizing the most emphasis on the industry is focusing on operational excellence and really on factual and accurate data. And from that process perspective, we can see that by automating repetitive tasks such as data entry and analysis, and using and utilizing softwares that facilitate a much quicker and more accurate decision-making process. And that really does align with the industry's demand for efficiency. That's a lot of what we're seeing with our existing customers and prospects coming in. The priority is to really streamline processes to save time and reduce costs. All right, let's move on to the second question. What specific benefits does software bring to private equity firms? There's many, and we did discuss a few today, but we really want to emphasize the focus on operational efficiency and by streamlining various workflows. This will lead to improved risk management through advanced analytics and predictive modeling. We do see a lot of emerging technologies that have these pro forma capabilities. Those are really important in investment decisions. We see a lot of value there, but really also on automating specific tasks that are routine for different tax, finance, and legal teams, and really focusing on reducing manual labor and really optimizing resource allocation, meaning that teams have the right technology and established processes in place to work on higher value tasks and make more informed decisions. Let's move on to the third question. And I think this might be our last question. For whatever we don't touch on, we will be in contact over email. But the third question reads, how does software impact the future of private equity? So software plays a pivotal role in shaping the future of private equity by really enabling firms to adapt to changing market conditions, and really allowing them to have better agility and really embracing innovation by using cutting edge technologies such as GenAI and machine learning. And with the hopes of all of these new technologies, I know a lot of firms have focused on and using technology to allow them to become more competitive in the market. So these resources can be referenced to providing any insights or tools for value creation, and really focusing on the deal cycle and life cycle, investment life cycle for their respective firms. That wraps up our 3 questions for today. I do see a few that are in the chat that we will get around to at a later date. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's webinar, and we hope you have a great day.